McDonough, and I'm here today with volunteers from the Family Selection Committee. Would you like to introduce yourselves, committee members? Just a quick.
I am Marian Carrasco. I'm with the Family Selection Committee.
I'm Darcy Johnson. I'm also with the Family Selection Committee.
Mariah Kurtz. I am the Board of Directors President.
Thank you. And thank you to our interpreters here today. Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity builds homes in Hampshire and Franklin counties for people with low incomes. We keep our costs low by building homes using as much volunteer labor as possible. But it still costs money to build homes, so we sell the homes to families with an affordable mortgage. The main topic of today's information session is to explain how to apply to purchase a Habitat home. We will still start by spending a few minutes describing our current project, but then we will get into the information about how to fill out your application. And we will answer any additional questions at the end, but you're also welcome to put questions in the Q&A as we go along so that we can keep track of your questions. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Mariah to tell us a little bit about the project.
Thank you, Megan. Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity will be building 3 new 3-bedroom homes on Burts Pit Road in Northampton in a project we are calling Victoria Bismark Farm. This is a new project where tree clearing has just begun, not the 3 homes that are currently mid-construction at the project we call Broughton's Meadow Homes. There was formerly a farmhouse on the property that was demolished. The neighbor told us that her grandfather used to live in the demolished house and shared this sign that says Victoria Bismark House. To honor the history of the site and the neighboring agricultural land, we decided to call the project Victoria Bismark Farm. The homes are located less than 2 miles from Smith College in a residential area. The property abuts land owned by Smith Vocational Agricultural Technical High School that is used for agricultural purposes. This creates a lovely pastoral view in the daytime. The wide open space does allow for light to travel from Hampshire County Correctional Facility at night, which is across the field to the south. If you want to drive by the address for the site, to put in GPS, it is 278 Burts Pit Road, Northampton, Mass. This project will feature 2 identical 2-story homes and 1 1-story home. All homes will have 1.5 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms. All homes will have a visitable first floor, meaning there will be an entrance someone in a wheelchair could access that will get them to the main living space and at least 1 accessible toilet. The 1-story home will also be adaptable for people with mobility impairments who need bedrooms on the first floor. The modest homes will be approximately 1,300 square feet. The homes will be energy efficient and built to Energy Star standards. The houses will be all electric and heated with 2 air source heat pumps. For the 2-story houses, all 3 bedrooms will be on the second floor. A half bath will be available on the first floor and a full bath available on the second floor. Outdoor storage in an attached shed will be provided. The homes will be built on a slab, so there will be no basement storage. There will also be no attic storage since the attic will be reserved for insulation. Each home will have its own driveway and yard. As a homeowner, you will be responsible for lawn care, driveway maintenance, and snow removal. The homes will be connected to public water and sewer. The building team at Habitat makes all construction decisions. We don't build custom homes, but we will make reasonable accommodations for someone with a disability. The sale price of the home will not exceed $200,000. The final sales price and mortgage term for the homes will be set to ensure that your monthly housing costs at closing do not exceed 30% of your income at the time you buy the house. The house will be permanently restricted, so you can't sell it for a lot more than you bought it for, but you do gain equity by making mortgage payments. Excuse me. What does it mean? What does it cost to be a homeowner with Habitat? If you become a homeowner, your monthly housing payments will include mortgage, principal, and interest, real estate taxes, and homeowners insurance. The average Habitat monthly payment is between $700 and $1,200 per month. Your mortgage payment will be fixed, but taxes and insurance can go up over time. This monthly payment does not include the cost for water bills, snow removal, or home repairs. State housing subsidies cannot typically be used towards a Habitat mortgage, for example, Section 8 rental vouchers. If you have rental assistance, please talk with the agency providing the voucher to see if they have any programs for using this towards a mortgage payment.
And Mary Ann, you're muted, but it is your turn. You're right.
Okay, thank you. How do you get selected? So Habitat looks for 3 categories when reviewing applicants and making a final selection of their partner families. We look at housing need, income and ability to repay, and willingness to partner. So looking at housing need. Inadequate housing could mean that your current housing has structural issues, problems with water, electrical, sewer, and/or heating systems, unsafe or unhealthy living conditions, or inadequate space for the number and sex of the members of your family. Or your current housing costs are excessive, more than 35% in relation to your income, or that you just can't afford. We also have an asset limit. If you have assets over $75,000, you will not be eligible. And you must be a first-time home buyer. However, that definition is a lot broader than you might think. Anyone who hasn't owned a house in the last 3 years is considered a first-time home buyer, as are displaced homemakers. So please ask for clarification after the information session if you're worried about whether you would be disqualified due to this requirement. And so now looking at the categories of income and ability to repay. So repayment, you will be buying a home and you will be have to repay a mortgage. So we're going to ask you to apply for a mortgage from a bank partner after being accepted by Habitat into the program, and they will need similar information to show your ability to repay. Ability to repay may be demonstrated in several ways. Do you make more than the minimum income required for a Habitat house, which you can see listed on the screen? Do you have a history of making payments on time for rent and other obligations? And this payment history will be seen on the required documents you will provide Habitat when you submit your application. And in a few minutes, we will go over the documents that will be required. These documents and your application will be reviewed by the Habitat Selection Committee and the bank you will get your mortgage from. Habitat set income guidelines based on HUD median income, depending on family size. The minimum income for this project is $30,000 a year. Again, you can see that on the screen. And the maximum income varies with family size. For a family of 4, the maximum income is $56,475. And again, the income guidelines are on the screen. They're also on the flyer, and they will be on the application packet. The credit reports will be pulled by Habitat for use in the selection process. Credit score is not the only thing taken into consideration when we are reviewing your ability to pay. If you have delinquencies or judgments on your credit report, it's okay. The committee is looking to see that you've worked with your creditors to pay back any judgments, or that you have brought any previously delinquent accounts back into a current status. You can't have any current judgments or liens, but something in the past is okay. In general, you must wait 2 years after bankruptcy and show good credit in the time since bankruptcy was discharged. This can be waived if the bankruptcy was caused by extraordinary circumstances such as death or natural disasters. We will also be looking to make sure you don't have so many debts that it would affect your ability to repay your mortgage. If you're not sure about your credit, consider seeing a HUD-approved housing counselor at Valley CDC, Wayfinders, or Franklin County HRA. This counseling should be free. A criminal background check and sex offender registry check will also be done. Having a criminal record does not automatically disqualify you from the selection. However, Habitat reserves the right to disqualify someone for a relevant offense. If selected, you'll be expected to make a down payment of $700, which will be paid to Habitat in 7 monthly installments of $100. The first installment will be due the month after you have agreed to partner with Habitat or when construction begins, whichever is later. In addition to the $700 down payment, you'll need to save up during construction to pay for your first year of homeowners insurance before we can sell you the house. This cost will vary depending on who you select for the insurance, but it could be anywhere from $600 to $1,000. Plan to keep saving $100 a month after your down payment is complete. And you also may choose to spend some money for appliances or other specifically allowed upgrades. So you may want to make sure you have some money for that as well. Habitat will pay reasonable closing costs for your mortgage. Now, one of the things we mentioned is your willingness to partner is one of the requirements. And what we mean by that is if you're selected, you and your family become a partner with Habitat in building your home, and you will be asked to complete 250 hours of sweat equity. Now, what's sweat equity? That means each adult who will be living in the home must complete 250 hours of sweat equity to a maximum of $500. The vast majority of this sweat equity is actually you building your home with volunteers and contractors. If you're selected to partner with Habitat, you should expect that you will spend 1 to 2 days every week until your home is completed. Work days are typically 9 to 4 p.m. or 12 to 4 on Sunday. You'll need, you'll need to average about 5 hours per week to complete your 250 hours before the building is done. There will be some weeks when on the site construction work is not available because subcontractors are on site, like electricians or plumbers. So you need to plan ahead to do more than 5 hours a week some weeks. And if you're disabled, we'll work with you to modify the sweat equity requirements to match your disabilities. Your abilities, I should say, not your disabilities. Future homeowners must complete 16 hours of volunteer work with Habitat, which counts towards your sweat equity within the first 2 months of being selected. These 16 hours could be working on your future home or other Habitat projects. A first-time homebuyers class must be completed, and these hours also count towards your sweat equity. Once you agree to partner with Habitat, you'll be assigned a mentor who will work with you to plan your sweat equity hours and prep your home. You'll also work with the mentor to select certain fixtures in the home, as well as any upgrades. And the mentor will be your main point of contact for the 9 to 18 months this takes to build your home, and for the first year after you are in your home. If selected, you'll need to complete an agreement that you're willing to partner with Habitat by completing these requirements.
So the next part of this presentation, as I'm going to review the application that is available on our website, pbhabitat.org/apply. It's also available from these locations in Northampton. And the deadline for submitting your application is March 8th, 2023. All applications must either be received in our office, so dropped off, or postmarked if you're mailing it to our PO box. All right, I think we are ready to get started again. So thank you for your patience while we took a little bit of a break for our interpreters. I'm going to go over the application form itself. And if you look on our website, you can find this PDF. It starts with the first page is the same page we use as a flyer, so you might see around town, showing a little rendering of the 3 houses next to each other, the Habitat logo, and the Equal Housing Opportunity logo. This application is also available in Spanish, or if you need other language assistance, please reach out to us so you can make special arrangements. The next page is blank. And then we move into this letter where it says, "Dear prospective applicant." And the letter outlines the steps in the application process, much of which we're going over today in this information session. But if you are wondering about the application process and you think you forgot a part, this is a good letter to review and review the sort of steps in the process. The next page is where the application form itself actually starts. And you can see at the top of the application form, it has information about where to submit your application when you're done, or where to ask questions. You can also find the application online on our website. We want you to fill out the application form as completely as you can. It really helps us when reviewing the application if there aren't missing or blank sections. The first question you're going to run across is, are you applying by yourself for individual credit, or are you applying for joint credit? And that would mean that you have an applicant and a co-applicant. And if you have a third applicant, get another form, but that's pretty unusual. So if you have, it could be your spouse, it could be your boyfriend or girlfriend, it could be a friend that you would like to own the home together with. But you want to check the box, I'm applying for joint credit, if there's someone you'd like to own this future home with, and we'll be looking at both of your credit in determining eligibility. If there are other people in your household who are not an applicant or co-applicant, you want to list them here under where it says dependents and others who will live with you. So your children, maybe your mother, maybe whoever is in your household, you want to list over here. And we need to know where you currently live so we can send you mail and how long you've been there. If you've been there less than 2 years, then we also want to know where your last address was. There's a question about military service. It doesn't affect your eligibility, but is part of our understanding a little bit more about you. The next question in section number 2 is regarding willingness to partner. That's what Mary Ann talked about as one of our program requirements, that you are willing to complete the required number of sweat equity hours. And this is asked of both the applicant and the co-applicant. Anyone with a disability, we will make a modified plan, but it's still a big time commitment. So we want to make sure that you're committing yourself to partnering with Habitat. We want you to tell us in section number 3 a little bit about where you live right now. So that's the present housing conditions. Are you renting? Do you own it? Is someone just letting you stay there rent free? Describe a little bit about where it is you live now and why you need a Habitat home. We also want to get a copy of your lease. And we're not going to reach out to your landlord without your permission, but if you can provide the information about your landlord here, that will, if we need to verify rent payments, we can do that later. Property information, section 4, a lot of people this doesn't apply to, so you can just check this box saying I do not own any real estate. But if you own some real estate somewhere, we want you to disclose that and share information about it here. Section 5 is where we're asking about employment information. If you don't have income from wages in employment, then you can check the box does not apply. You know, if maybe only your co-applicant does, they can fill out the information here and you can say that it does not apply. It's really helpful for us when you do things like check the box that says does not apply rather than leaving it blank. Because if you just leave it blank, then we will not know whether you didn't fill in the information or whether or not you just missed that section of the application. We also want to know if you are self-employed. And so if you can check the box here, that's very helpful. In addition to wages, we want this income chart here is a chance for you to describe your monthly income from all sources, both from you as the applicant, your co-applicant, if there is one, and any other adults in the household. So even if there's another adult in the household who isn't going to be a co-applicant, isn't going to be an owner of the house, part of our housing need criteria is that the overall household income needs to be below the maximum. So if you have adult children or others living with you, we need information about their income as well. Income can come from many different sources. So this is where you could list your salary and wages, like from the above section, but also things like child support, disability payments, other types of payments. And if you have household members whose income is listed above, who's not obviously the applicant or co-applicant, we want you to list their name and the income source here so we can connect the dots of where the income for the household is coming from. The down payment we're asking for is $700. Habitat is paying most of the closing costs, but you will need to save up for 1 year's worth of homeowners insurance, which can be anywhere from $500 to $1,000. So you need to make a plan for how you're going to get that money. If you're going to save it, you can pay it out throughout the construction process. You don't need to have it the day that you apply. Section 8, we're asking about assets. That's things that you own. And they can be cash assets like bank accounts or certificates of deposit, retirement accounts. We need you to list all of those different types of accounts here, what the current balance is. And then also if you have other significant assets beyond a personal vehicle, but you have a fleet of collector's cars, something significant of value that beyond, you would want to list that here as well. But primarily this is where you're listing retirement accounts, checking accounts, saving and loan accounts, those sorts of things. Section 9 is asking not about your assets and what you have, but who do you owe money to and where do you need to, what are your monthly expenses? Do you have a loan on your car? Do you have any other installment loan, some sort of personal loan? Do you have any leases, like a rent-to-own furniture lease? We want to know what your monthly payments are and the unpaid balance and how much you have left to pay for both the applicant and the co-applicant. Student loan debt. Do you pay child support? Back in the other section, we were asking about whether you receive income from child support. This is where we're asking if you pay child support. So these are your ongoing monthly liabilities and expenses. And then there's another section here, monthly expenses that are not debt, but are things like your current rent, childcare, insurance, other things that you pay monthly and that you can fill out there. Section 10, declarations, is a series of yes or no questions that help us evaluate your eligibility. If you answered yes to any questions A through G or no to question H, then we want you to explain on a separate piece of paper. Being a US citizen or permanent resident is not a requirement, but we do need to have some information about your legal status to be in the US as it pertains to our mortgage requirement. So the mortgage lender will want to know that you have the documented income and what your current status is at the time that you get the mortgage. So as long as you have any legal residency status, that will be fine. It doesn't have to be citizenship. But this, by answering yes or no to these questions, it allows us to go and ask you for some more information. Section 11, authorization, agreement, and release. This is the fine print where you agree that we're going to be evaluating your income and credit for home ownership, and that you're giving us permission to do that. So you're also consenting to things like electronic signatures if you fill this out online, and that we're going to be screening applicants on the sex offender registry and so doing a criminal background check. Section 12 is very short. I almost skipped it here. Right to receive a copy of appraisal. There is a law that if you that says you must have a right to receive a copy of an appraisal. So we make sure that we're informing you of that and ask that you sign off that you understand you have that right. That would be if you're selected and we move forward with construction. Here we go. Section 13. Demographic information is not required, but it helps us to track the diversity of our applicants and comply with regulations to make sure we're providing equal housing opportunities. If you're not married and you, then we would like you to fill out this additional section with a little bit more information about your current situation. And that has to do with whether or not you have common property laws. So that gets us pretty much the end of the main application form, but there's still a few more disclosures. This Equal Credit Opportunity Act notice that we ask you to sign off on that has information about where to make a complaint if you thought that there was discrimination in the process. And then this is a really important list, the application checklist. Under information sessions, you get to check the box to say you went to an info session on today's date. So that's a great one. And then you got to remember to complete the application entirely. And then these are the required documents that you need to submit with your application. This is a really important list. When you're submitting these documents, please make sure not to give us any original documents, only copies. We don't return your application, so it's really important that you just give us copies. If you're having trouble making copies, you can contact me to make an appointment to make copies in the office. I'm happy to do that with you. The rest of the application packet is just some additional information about where to submit your documents, and reminder of the income guidelines, a little bit more about the house like we reviewed earlier. So that is getting us most of the way through. That's the application form. And I'm going to turn it back over to Darcy to talk a little bit more about the process.
Thanks, Megan. So we'll talk a little bit about how the application review process goes. Excuse me. Once your application has been received, the Family Selection Committee application reviewers will look to see if your application is complete and review your credit history. After this initial review, applicants that do not meet the habitat selection criteria will receive a letter explaining why they have not been selected. Those that do meet the habitat selection criteria will also receive a letter requesting additional information if necessary. It's very important to respond promptly to the request for additional information. Failure to meet deadlines for information can disqualify you. Next, there'll be a virtual home visit. After any additional information is gathered and reviewed, home visits are scheduled. 2 members of the selection committee will make an appointment with you to meet with you and your family. These meetings are typically an hour. We may have some additional questions for you about your income or expenses. All members of your family that will be living in the home, if you are selected, should be at this meeting. And this is a chance for you to ask questions in a smaller group before the lottery. Here's how the lottery and selection process work. After all the home visits are completed, the selection committee confirms which applicants have been determined eligible according to all the selection criteria. The selection committee then sends its recommended list of all eligible applicants to the Habitat Board of Directors for approval. The Habitat Board of Directors confirms who will be in the lottery, and a lottery is conducted. Once the lottery results are in, the Habitat Executive Director will contact the family to ask if they would like to partner with Habitat. If they say yes, we have our partner family and the real work begins. This is how to submit your documents. Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity would like to do our best to make it easy to safely and securely submit your application documents. Due to COVID-19, our office is not open to the public, but you still have several options to submit your application on time. Mail your paper application with copies of required documents. As long as your application is postmarked by the March 8th deadline, it will be accepted. Our address is Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity, Post Office Box 60642, Florence, Massachusetts 01062. You can drop off your paper application with copies of the required documents in our locked mailbox at 140 Pine Street, Florence, Mass. 01062. Look for the box labeled Pioneer Valley Habitat for Humanity on the middle floor near our office. There's a short set of stairs to access this box. Or you can submit your application digitally. A link to the DocuSign online application can be found at www.pvhabitat.org/apply. We also have an option for you to upload files using Leap file through an encrypted page. Last year, we used Virtru for encrypted emails. This year, we are using Leap file instead. Please do not email account numbers, social security numbers, or other personal information. To be considered, you must submit your application on or before Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. Don't have everything ready by the deadline? The application deadline is firm, but incomplete applications will be accepted. Submit what you can by the deadline to ensure your application is considered. Please try and submit as complete an application as possible to assist in a timely review process. If your application is incomplete, you will receive a follow-up notification requesting the missing information with a deadline for sending in the remaining items. It typically takes 2 to 3 months for the selection process to be completed after the application deadline. If you have questions, you can call or email Megan. If you don't apply, you won't be selected. 413-517-8326 is the Habitat number, or apply@pvhabitat.org. We'll stop recording now, but please remember this is a public forum. If you have questions that involve personal information, you may want to ask them at another time.